Okay, so you might you need to circle or star these three problems. These are test-like problems. I'm gonna go over some other tests like they're in your packet. If no picture is given, you should always be drawing a right triangle because that's the only thing we can use trig with. Is with right triangle. So check if you have a right triangle. It says the tower is 25 feet high, and I know this is not. I mean 200 feet high. I know this is not drawn to scale. Cast a shadow. The shadow's on the ground, so that would have to be horizontal. What is the angle of elevation? Elevation is or depression is always formed with the horizontal line. Elevation is above the horizontal line. Depression is below. So this is the first thing I'm going to check on your test to show that you have understanding, that you draw a picture that corresponds with the scenario. Here, we should be circling the angle and labeling the parts in relationship to the angle. We have opposite and adjacent. So that would be the tangent. The tangent of x equals 200 divided by 75. To show that it's calculator ready, you would just write tan inverse of 200 over 75. Tan negative 1, like y'all like to say, but it's the tan inverse. Since it's the degree to the nearest degree, that's the nearest whole number, we should get 69. No decimal to the nearest degree. So make sure you memorize that. Number 11 and 13, definitely you're going to see. We have two scenarios, and we're going to combine the two. Since the rescue team is 1,000 feet away from the base of the vertical cliff, they've already labeled that for you. It says that the angle of elevation to the top of the cliff is 70 degrees. So if I'm talking about to the top of the cliff, that is the whole triangle here using y. That's 70 degrees. So the climber is stranded on a ledge. The angle of elevation for the rescue team to the ledge is 55. So if I'm talking about just the climber, that is this right triangle. Dealing with W, that's 55. How far is this stranded climber from the top of the cliff? Hint, find y and w using trig ratios. Then subtract w from y to find x. So meaning, I'm going to write a trig ratio for y. This would be opposite and adjacent. You're going to use tangent for both. So for the y, I would have the tangent of the 70 equals opposite y over the adjacent, 1,000. The variables on top, so calculator ready, would show y equals 1,000 times the tangent of 70. That's your trig ratio or your setup for y. And you have to do the same thing for w. W has the angle of elevation with 55. So it's still tangent again. The tangent of 55 equals w over 1,000. So w is equal to 1,000 times the tangent of 55. All right, we have to solve for each one to determine the value of x. Anyone get the y? Yeah, it's like approximately, oops, I should do that in green. 2,747.5. All right, and then the w. Yeah. So to find x, we just subtract the 2. You're trying to find this little piece, the remaining. Oh, that's my fault. To find x, all I'm going to do is say y minus w, and that would give me the x. $1,319.4. I mean, your answer could come out as a decimal. But to round would be given in the directions. Yeah. All right. 13. Guarantee this type of problem. It's just going to be a different scenario. The picture will be given to you like this, blank, but you're going to have to fill in the parts. So person in the apartment building sights the top of the building of an office building 500 feet away, they've already labeled that 500 feet away. So the angle of elevation for the top of the office building is 23 degrees. The first thing is angle of elevation is above the horizontal line. Here is the horizontal line. From that window, the 23s would go there. So the angle of depression for the base of the building is 50 degrees. Depression is below the horizontal line. So the 50 would go here. They want to know how tall the office building is. Well, we have two separate triangles here. I have this triangle. To find that vertical distance x, I use the 23 and the 500 because I know the horizontal distance. This was 500. There's two ways I could do my vertical distance here, my y. I can use the right triangle above it or below it, or I know the angle of depression is the same as the angle of elevation. So if it's y here, it's y over here. So either one would work. But for both, we have opposite labeled and adjacent labeled. So we have two trig functions for x and y, and they both use tangent because it's opposite and adjacent. So it's the tangent 23 equals x over 500. And then for y, we have the tangent of 50 equals opposite, which is y over adjacent 500. Both variables are on top. So what do we do to solve them? You multiply. So you need to find x by doing 500 times the tangent of 23. This is showing calculator ready. And you need to find y by doing 500 times the tangent of 50. And then if I add the two together, the height of the building to find the height, you're just going to add x plus y. See if you got that. It's over 800. 0.1, yeah. 808.1. That is correct. That's the total answer for the height. All right, I need to talk about number 7 on the next page. You're going to start seeing adjacent triangles and using trig, using a triangle embedded in another triangle, use trig to find the missing part. So I'm going to look at number 7 because 7 is similar to number 8, which you have to do for your homework. And just check to see if you have the right setup. The first thing they want you to do is find BC. I'm going to go ahead and label that X. Okay. Now, to find BC, I need to use some type of right triangle to find that. In order to do that, I'm going to use, I need two parts of the right triangle. So I have this BC, and then if I look at the whole right triangle, I have the hypotenuse 30. My concern with a problem like this is you identifying how to break it into two right triangles. So it's always going to be the whole right triangle compared to the smaller right triangle inside of it. All right, so I'm going to have to use this angle, the 25, for the whole triangle, whole right triangle BCA, and the x now becomes the opposite, and the 30 now becomes the hypotenuse. And I'm using the trig function that deals with opposite and hypotenuse. Which would that be? Opposite and hypotenuse. Sorry. So you write sine of 25, the angle equals opposite, which is x, over hypotenuse, which is 30. X is on top, so for calculator ready, x equals 30 times the sine of 25. That's what you need to type in the calculator. I think on here they want us to round to the nearest hundredths. And then I'd rather you keep the angle measured to the nearest degree, but I'm going to have both answers when we check. Okay, so 2 decimal places when you round here. Anyone figure out X yet? Yeah, 12.68. Thank you. All right, so I'm going to go ahead now and label my BC 12.68 because the next part they want me to find is BD. Okay, that's going to be my Y. BD is this segment. All right, so which triangle are you going to have to use? Yeah, BCD. Now you're using the right triangle inside the whole right triangle, the BCD. And now we're going to use the angle 50. We're going to label the parts. Again, we have opposite and hypotenuse. So we have the sine of 50 equals the 12.68 over y. The variable now is where? Okay, so when it's on the bottom, we're now going to have to do what? Divide. So to show it, calculator ready, y equals the 12.68 divided by sine of 50. Showing the calculator ready part, showing what you would have to do in the calculator will give you partial points. It actually will help you receive full credit if for some reason your answer comes out wrong. Because sometimes you might have typed in something wrong, like 12.58, and you get a different decimal. But as long as I see that this is what you would have to do to solve the answer, I can justify giving you full credit here. So BD is what? 16.55, right? Okay. Now, my concern or question to you is, can you see or can you pull out the right triangle to use trig with? Because you're going to see them embedded. Do you see how you have to do trig? If you see 2 angles, that means you're going to have to do trig twice. That's a key too. All right? So this problem is similar to what you have to do on number 8, which is part of your homework. No, it's special rights too. Yeah. All right. It's going to be special rights, heartbeat, trig. All right. What I want us to get to, let's look at number 9 real quick, because you will have problems where you have to draw the picture yourself. Oh, that's on this side. Yeah, let's do this. And then we're going to look at another one. All right, so we used to the ladder type problems. That's very common. Okay. Based on what they tell you, if there's no picture given, what type of picture should you always draw? Right triangle. Thank you for getting the correct first step. All right, I'm not going to care if it's to scale. I just want a right triangle. And then I'm just going to check that what you label your right triangle matches the scenario to the problem. So I'm going to let you draw your right triangle, see if you can label it correctly, check with your group members, and then we're going to check up here. All right, check your drawing. Anything that says with the ground, that's always going to be horizontal, okay? Or the base, that's going to be horizontal. All right, so the first thing has to show for understanding that I'm going to check for is that you have it labeled correctly. Then here, this is my angle. The 8 feet is adjacent to the angle, and the x, the length of the ladder, is the hypotenuse. So then we got to check that you pick the correct trig function to solve this. Adjacent and hypotenuse would be cosine. So the cosine of 65 equals the 8 over hypotenuse, which is x. Because the variable's on the bottom, we're dividing. 8 divided by the cosine or 65. We're rounding to 2 decimal places, to the hundredths. Uh, what is the height of the ladder? Yeah. Oops, wrong. What's the? I think it's 0. Hold up. So 92, 93, 93. All right, so just try to draw 10 for me real quick. I just want to check, make sure our drawings get done. And then we're going to talk about one more problem. All right, if you use the basic right triangle, 25, or your angle of depression, is the same as your angle of elevation. Your angle of depression would actually be here with the horizontal, which is why it's congruent to where I put it. The alternate interior angles, which are congruent. You will never use the vertical unless they tell you it's formed with the vertical or formed with the wall or formed with that part. So check your labeling. You should be using tangent to solve this. For its calculator ready, it should be x equals 150 divided by the tangent of 25. I actually didn't do this one. And we're rounding to the nearest hundred, so 321.68. Did I type that in right? Yeah. Oops. 68. All right. Do we have any questions? All right. This is, yeah. I'm sorry. Well, I could have drawing the triangle doesn't matter. I could draw the triangle that way. Angle, elevation, or depression is always with the horizontal line. So it can only, if I draw my triangle, it can only be with the horizontal line. I can't put it here because this angle is with the vertical line. All right.